Did you know God created you with a unique, one-of-a-kind voice print? A sound that this world is waiting for you to release. You're listening to Release Your Sound with your host, Laurean Kile, professional encourager, founder, and visionary of the Launch Collective Expo. Listen in on the conversation, be encouraged, grow, and learn the power your voice carries and the truth of your identity to live your life beyond what you imagine on earth as it is in heaven. Now, here's Laurean.
Hello, and welcome to Release Your Sound. I'm your host, Laurean Kile, and today I am so excited because I have a very special guest. Sitting with me here today is my dear friend, Jill Yesko. Jill and I are met many years ago when, some of you may not know this, when I had a company called Patriarch Placement where I helped for many years seniors find care and housing. And Jill is a professional organizer. She owns her own company called Discover Organizing. She is also a speaker, an amazing speaker. If you need a speaker, y'all need to hire her or invite her on your podcast. For sure. She is an author, and I have to tell you, I am pleased to say I am a co-author with her. This is our book, Chronological Order, The Fine Print for a Large Life. Jill and I wrote this book together. It was released this year. You can find it on Amazon or our website, chronologicalorder.org.
I think it's chronologicalorder.info. Oh my God.
We better check that, Jill. Look at us. We're like, what's our website?
What's our website?
Chronological Order. We'll get that to you. I will put it in the comments of the podcast so you can hook up and check out our website. You also can find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, an Instagram page, and links on our own personal sites. You can connect with us. But our book is our baby. It is a culmination of our passion of really helping individuals live their fullest life. And that is really what we both are passionate about. And Jill does that through her work as an organizer. And as you all know, now I do that as a professional encourager and faith coach. And so today I really wanted to have Jill on to talk about clutter, and specifically how clutter keeps us, from releasing our full potential, from releasing our sound, from releasing our brilliance, from releasing our gifts that God intended us to share, to impact and change the world. And I'm going to tell you, Jill is a world changer. And so, Jill, would you tell folks more about your company, about your books that you've written and what you're passionate about and what, I know that your beautiful light is sharing and shining in the world. And also plug that you're starting a nonprofit, which I hope to hear about too. So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you. Laurean, first of all, you're amazing. And I'm so glad I got a chance to work with you to get this book, published. And, it was like 3 years in the making, I know. And I think the mission of it is so valuable. And it really fueled both of those, careers that we combined together to create this book of knowledge, are totally based on our values. So it's really cool that we got to each kind of come to the table with our experience, but that hope proving lives through just even one sentence of the book would be a big win for both of us. So I know we were on the, pardon the pun, same page about things. But really my career, being a former social worker and then a human resource director for a psychiatric hospital, both of those backgrounds fueled my passion to help individuals that were struggling with, a lot of brain-based challenges like, ADHD, depression. So not just the closet makeover crowd is where I was headed. And no matter what I did, thinking I was going to be that, home edit kind of person, I ended up doing more of a deeper dive with clients into way beyond the closet, way beyond the basement, way beyond that garage. We were talking about issues that were affecting, things that I could relate. I've been through divorce. I have lost people, death and, relationships, things that I can totally relate to with my clients as going through and kind of understanding with them how difficult life can be sometimes. And when that happens, you tend to go, wait, I'm not alone. I have help. I have information, and in the form of a professional organizer who we're not therapists or clinicians by any means, but we do have a good set of ears and we can kind of see what's going on and we can advise about resources that are available. So while we aren't able to give therapy, a lot of people call us therapists, much like a bartender or a hairstylist, at least be there and be present for that client. So clutter, is such a big word, and it kind of can have this like really negative, negative feeling or vibe to it because
negative energy.
Right. And so Barbara Hemphill, who wrote Tame Paper Tiger, coined clutter as postponed decisions. And she ended up trademarking that phrase because she's right. We put off our decisions, and that's what I wanted to talk to you today about is what clutter really, what I see when I go out to clients' homes is that all this clutter is really just good and things that they meant to do or still need to. And I find many people amongst their archives. I find many people amongst their dreams, but they're not here today defining how the home and maybe their home office or an office can really be defining what their lives need to feel like now. And that's hard for a lot of us because we see these broken dreams. We see these things they were going to do and art supplies that they bought to do a project that they never really started. And it turns out that maybe they need to go to an art class or maybe a workshop at Michael's or something and get that push. And as professional organizers, we help them see that and carve that out. And I'm sure in your life as a coach, you're seeing how that you can kind of point out solutions. We can't make someone do something. I can't one of our clients get rid of something that's weighing them down. But I remember when I was a baby organizer, I went into somebody's house and I was helping her, and she actually had a physical disability that affected her eyesight, and she was deaf. She has gotten a cochlear implant, and she can hear beautifully now, and It's really cool. But when I first met her, I'm just gonna call her Pam. That's not her real name, but I remember she was taking me for a tour of her house, and she didn't even like me when she first met me because I was a gift from her husband, which never goes well, by the way.
Yeah, I would think that would not go well.
No, it's sort of like getting your spouse like a vacuum cleaner or a workout machine for your anniversary.
Yeah, those aren't gifts.
Not a good idea.
Those are not gifts. No, diamonds, flowers, chocolates, vacations, dinners out, theater tickets. Those are gifts.
Well, my love language is so honestly, if my husband said I'm cleaning the kitchen for your birthday, I'd be like, yeah.
That too, right? Yes.
I'd love it.
A walk in the park.
Yeah, that's really, I just want your time. That's what I care about. But I remember her taking me for a walk, and I saw piles of paper, and I saw, stuff piled up in her bedroom and clothing stacks and things that show me there were some blocks, like even in her kitchen, just things weren't clean. And I mean, she couldn't see either. And I just realized, well, this, the family, she has like all these kids and a husband, and I'm thinking we could delegate some things for them. And I started thinking about ways that the family could support her a little bit better, and she could do certain tasks and kind of share the load one way, and let them pick up the load on the other end. And I was doing all this in my head, and she takes me down to the garage, and there's this kiln, like a big kiln that a potter would use.
Wow.
And it was huge, taking up so much space in the garage. And I said, oh, you like to throw clay, you're a potter, that's great. She looked at me and she went, I bought this I saw the movie Ghost, and I was going to do pottery because I thought that was really, and I didn't actually use the kiln. And I'm like, that movie came out some time ago. And now this was in 2003. So
it is a long
been,
time. Yeah. It was at least a while back from then.
Yeah. And she just was like, yeah, I know. And I said, I just want you to think about what activities that you like to do. Because you said you like to go for walks. And you said you like to listen to music. You like to make music. You like to, play your musical instrument. You like to do all these things. And you listen, she listened to, some music that she could really feel, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So there were some things doing that she really enjoyed, and just being with friends. She loved going for coffee. Because she could see with her vision issue, she had a syndrome where she could sort of like out through a donut hole.
Wow.
So she couldn't see anything really sort of see straight. So you always had to look her straight in the eye, which for me is new. But the next day I went back to a follow-up session, and she said, come here. She grabbed my shoulders and she said, you're brilliant. I was like, what? Because you really made me think about who I am, not who I was hoping. Mm-hmm. And she took me down to the kiln and she said, let's get rid of it today. And I was like, oh, okay. Put it on Craigslist and it was gone within the day. It was so funny. All the pottery supplies, sold everything. Wow. And she said, now I have money to go out with my friends for the coffees and splurge on a new blouse or, whatever it was. And I thought, wow, just having that clarity for her. And as you know, as a coach, when you see that clarity, that's your reward as a professional. You get to see those light bulbs going. And honestly, maybe I could just, Joe off the street and make them aware of something. But I think there's a fresh set of eyes and there's a professional fresh set of eyes. And I think having my training in social work really helps. But I think now, after almost 20 doing this, I think there's a way that we speak to our clients with so much respect and calmness and asking them things in a different way. So clutter can really just be, as my definition, is maybe something that gets in the way of you in the life you want to live. And I'm sure there's beautiful quotes out there,
about all that. I want to say, what you describe is it. To me, it is, and in essence, the way God really intends for us to live. He intends for us to live intentional lives. And what you described was, she just didn't even realize she had stuff that wasn't even serving her life and what she loved to do. And like you said, now she actually had more resources to go hang out with her friends, right? Or to go take that trip, whatever that is. Just, having things just to have things doesn't make sense, right? And it was just hiding and not giving her room and resources to do the more that she actually loved. It's just fascinating. I mean, it is really just unique work that you get to do. I mean, it's actually very intimate, I want to say.
Oh yeah, it's a very
like you said, she was mad at her husband. Like, how dare you invite a stranger into my intimate space, right? So, just getting over that hurdle with her is right there. Kudos to you. And then, wow, the transformation that happened in her life, because what you taught her, she's applying now, probably every day. She's thinking more about, how do I want today to look? How do I want to be present in it? So
cool. That's the gift that an organizer gives their client, is that gift of sustainable systems in their home. Once we've left, we haven't really done our job unless we have transferred some set of skills to you. Even if it's just not to let mail accumulate on your dining room table so that you can, with your family there, if that's why you're hiring me, right, I'm going to make sure that you have a mail processing system that works for you and your family, or just for you. Right. Even if your spouse doesn't redo it or doesn't subscribe to it, and that was your goal.
Right. And this is what we really talk about in this book, that's why it's called like chronological order, because, God is also a God of order. He wants us to live freely from what we love, but there is systems in the chaos of this world. And if we put some order in our life, in our timeline of our lives, then we live in the ease that he intended. It's so cool. It's so cool. Wow.
And you can achieve that ease. And it's so funny when the client finds that ease that you're talking about, they know now how to get there. And so they can choose to stay in the chaos, or they can choose what they now know as different and better.
Right.
And I'm not saying
and that's right there. You just gave the definition of repentance. People hear that word and think that's like some kind of something, but all repentance means is change your mind. Make a choice for yourself. You choose. I mean, you choose how you want to live your life. Like, it's a choice. And, you could stay there, like you just said, stuck in chaos and not being fulfilled in the full life that you really desire to have. Just a choice. So change your mind.
Yeah. And we get to be these cool like tour guides, along with you to kind of map it out with you, ask you where you want to go, take you there, show you what you can do, what your potential is, what your home's potential is, and what your calendar's potential is, honestly. And then we can just let you keep exploring on your own, or continue to walk with you. And that's why, Sandy, who's been working for me now for about 4 years, she has regular clients. She was just commenting this morning, I can't believe how many regular clients I have. And she works with a specific population of the chronically disorganized and those experiencing hoarding behaviors. So when we see clients like that just need that, I just need to keep my head above water client, sure, we can serve them too. Not everything a makeover. Not everything is a closet makeover or a junk drawer makeover for a before and after. We will never see before pictures of someone with, who's experiencing hoarding disorder. We're not going to see that and go, wow.
Yeah, there's not going to be all color coded, right?
No,
right.
There will be bills paid on time. They will be. They will have friends that they see. They will have a more successful relationship with whomever they're with, a spouse, a partner, whomever. As a result of the work that we do. And frankly, with that other book that I wrote, the I'm Right Here book, this was, let me see, get it in front of the camera. This is 10 ways to get help for hoarding and chronic disorganization. And this was published last June of 2021. And what that book was supposed to do, and still is doing, is acts as a resource, not just for the person that is experiencing challenging disorganization on their own, but for someone that is trying to help someone, whether that be a case manager, a therapist, a friend, a neighbor, a cousin, a mother, brother, whomever this behavior, and doesn't want to judge this person and sees it as a mental illness or sees it as a brain-based challenge like ADHD, anxiety, all those things weigh into it. And if we see it that way, then we can look at it like any medical issue that might be present. And often we see, homes that are, have a lot of accumulations usually have someone living in there that has been traumatized by an earlier life event. They didn't get the right support.
We
at the
say
time.
that that's the heart wounds that accumulate over time and that stay buried. And that stuff is a perfect picture of that. I mean, it's you're buried under that trauma. Yeah.
And it fills voids. The people I talked to, the woman we were working with yesterday, her dog passed away a few months ago, and that was a very special pet. And up until then, she was chronically, disorganized, having those challenges, trying to just keep her head above water, and she was doing a pretty good job. And then when the dog passed away,
depression,
that sent her back into the hoarding behaviors. That was her trigger. So, collaborative therapy usually work with somebody like that. And that's another topic for another day, but that's when you have a therapist and you have a client, and then you have a professional organizer working together to work on those goals. So that, again, it's the gift that keeps giving.
And it's not cookie cutter. I think, like you said, you probably, have you ever experienced like going in a home that they want you to come organize, and you go in and you're like, what do I need to organize? Have you experienced that? Like, the extreme where somebody is almost, well, I guess that's OC or something, right? Where they're on the extreme of everything has to be, uh, perfectionism or something. And maybe you're like thinking like you might need to relax a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I would imagine
Yes.
there could be a swing the other way too.
Oh yeah. No, I was raised in homes, perfect home. So I can kind of recognize what someone's trying to accomplish when they ask me and they invite me into their space. They are asking for validation that they're good enough. A lot of times they're asking for validation that they're living, as close to perfect as they possibly can. They're trying to make sure I see that their goals, and we can certainly help them too by kind of asking them to talk to us a little bit about maybe why they felt they needed to be here, and is there like stuff in your closets or stuff you're tucking away. And sometimes they're tucking stuff away because they have beautiful surfaces, and then you open one cabinet and then you open the buffet and then you see all the stuff is shoved in there. So that's a different story. But for the most part, for the minimalist, the minimalist that calls me wanting to see if they're doing it right, sometimes they just need validation that, they're doing it right. And I ask them, is this way of life comfortable for you? Would you like more in your space? Do you want to leave a couple socks on the stairs? How would that feel? You know what I mean? If that happened.
Wow. So, you're not just an organizer, it's such important work. It's such important work to do. I mean, you're really helping people to see their lives it's a holistic. I think I remember, when we were writing the book, and as I was reading through what you were writing, it just hit me so much of, we think of the organizing of stuff, but it's like you said something important about time, organizing your time, organizing your mindset, organizing, your experiences. Like, how do you want to live? How does that all flow? And the stuff being in a system allows you for the rest, and I mean, it just hit home so much. It's so much more like, especially as an entrepreneur, the time management piece really was valuable to me. And would you talk about the importance of that and how it allows you to be more expressive, to be more creative, to be more authentic? How could you talk a little bit about that? Maybe give some tips, because we do have a lot of entrepreneurs in my world.
Yeah. I've often been quoted because I say this all the time, and so people like repeat it back to me, and I'm sort of tired of hearing it, but it is the truth, which is the best gift you give yourself is to be prepared. And I don't mean like Girl Scout Red Cross stuff, although that's very advisable. And we also, I think, talk about that in our book. But,
yeah, we do.
I think, the gift of time, it's such a commodity, and there's memes and quotes galore on, Pinterest and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram about, you'll want what you want on your gravestone. Do you want that you were, behind on a project, or do you want to say that you were a great grandmother and friend, Right. And of course, we're going to use the latter, because in the end, it's about relationships, it's about people. And when you, as an entrepreneur, when you create a life of income and prosperity, you're allowed to have more choice, right? Money sometimes equals the gift of time, because you can kind of say, I've earned what I wanted to earn right now, and I've created a day that I can enjoy, even if I'm working 4 hours and then spending the next 4 with my grandchildren or my children or my friend, through something, or need to help them with a project. You can start kind of sharing more time when you have more time. And the way you create that feeling of peace is by preparing. So what does that look like? It looks like sitting down perhaps on a Sunday morning early, and looking at your calendar so that Sunday night you don't feel like, oh, you forgot to do X, Y, Z. if you're a parent and you forgot to look at the calendar until Sunday night, you may get stuck making cookies and brownies for a bake sale the next day.
Or paper mache project with your kid, right?
Yeah. Or a volcano.
Yeah, volcano. Yeah, you're running out to get clay at midnight.
We've all done it. So I'm just saying, we tend to want to be doing all these fun things during the day and in the evening, but then, we do have to kind of look ahead to plan. And the other thing I would suggest doing, and that works with meal planning, that works with entrepreneurship, it works with managing a home, managing your life, managing your social schedules to do planning. But the biggest thing I would say that for people that are in business for themselves or just people that are working a lot is I don't see a lot of breathing time between appointments. So I don't see air. I just see, meet with Laurean, 10 to 11, meet with Bob from 11 to 12. And I'm like, whoa. Where's your 15 to 30 minutes in between to write down your notes from meeting with Laurean before you meet with Bob? And don't you need to have a snack and a glass of water and regroup for the afternoon? Because once you get out of your meeting with Bob, you're going straight to another meeting and you have to go out on the road because you have this to do.
Right. And
this appointment at 3 o'clock.
That right there is the clutter of the mind, right? You have to allow it's really important. And I know you probably you're speaking to it, that your mind, the way your mind is wired, the way God designed our minds, that they need periods of rest. They need periods to wander. They just need periods to just wander.
That. You talk to any person that used to, when they were a kid or they were in college, they were artists, they were writers, they were poets, they were musicians, and then they get married, and they have kids, and you ask them, do you still play the violin? You were so good at that. Do you still draw? Do you have any pictures? They look at you as if you're crazy because they forgot. They forgot to give themselves that gift of time to do that because they were making a paycheck and raising babies. And I think that's all amazing work in the world. But, resentment builds up when we don't give us the time we need to explore those things. And by the way, if you don't have a hobby, it's okay. You don't have to be an athlete or whatever, but your brain still needs that time in between the big, acute sessions needs to work. So when you have meetings after meetings after meetings and you're on, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, I don't care. It's a lot of energy that you're giving out and a lot of And if you have no way to download that information into, a notebook or, dictate it into your phone or whatever it is that you're doing, or even talk to a colleague about it, I guarantee you burnout's going to occur.
And mistakes are going to happen. Things are going to fall through the cracks. Yeah. All that starts to appear because you're not allowing, the declutter of your mind and the organization process to keep track of what's important from those meetings, from the work that you just accomplished,
Yeah, and I'm a big, I do take a couple of notes for sure, but I actually have my calendar up all the time and my task management software. So I just basically load everything right in because I don't want to write it all down and then reload it. But there are some that are really big. You just need to take notes. I get that. Especially if you're going to courses and going to conferences and things like that. You can't have all your task management software. But if I'm in a work meeting or in a work group meeting, we all have our Asana task software up. And that way we know there's going to be a credible and concrete outcome from that meeting by this date and who's doing it. Otherwise, it just in the notebook.
Right.
For weeks, months, years, it sits there.
Right. And that's being, really intentional with your calendar, making sure that you're, checking it, and doing what you need to do. And all you entrepreneurs, Asana, ASANA, it is free. There is an upgrade version if you need it. But honestly, if you're a solo entrepreneur or just have a small team, you could get a lot done in the free version as well. So if you're just starting out, get it. There's plugging you Asana.
And it's free. I mean, the free version.
I haven't upgraded yet, and I've got my whole life managed in there. It's amazing. Check it out.
It is.
Check it out.
It is.
Check it out. So I want to ask you, in your journey as an organizer and in your journey as an expertise in this personally, where is it, how has it affected the trajectory of your life? Like, can you remember where you were to where you are now? And like, how do you feel now? Like, how do you show up each day? How do you feel compared to when you first, started?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever asked me an unloaded question. So, I would definitely say when I was new at this, I wanted to please my clients so bad and I wanted to heal them so badly that I put myself and my own mental health at risk. And you think I would have learned not to do that as a case manager. But I didn't. And, I'm not going to change. I'm still a people pleaser. I know innately that's who I am. I want to make you happy.
You're a giver.
But I have learned.
That's one of your God-given gifts.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a gift. Sometimes it's not a gift. But when you're in business for yourself, I think it's really hard to balance out, your time. So I remember just being my clients my all, and then remembering the reason I started the business so I could be a more present parent to my children. And when I remembered that, I saw it in a color-coded Google Calendar. I remember because I color-coded personal was pink, which meant time with the kids in my life. Green was when I was making money, and blue was when I was building my business. Those were the three colors I operated off. And one week I looked at it and I saw all this green and blue, and I saw very little pink. It just kept getting smaller and smaller. And so it was a very big lesson in me to create that bigger piece for me. And so I learned that about probably years in, which was a little too late. I'm very self-critical, but at least I fixed it and I went forward and I stopped taking calls during dinner. I stopped looking at Blackberries and cell phone PDAs when I was helping my child with their homework. And those were things that I deliberately changed. So I would say in terms of time management, relationship management, clutter, organizing, all that, one of the things I try to train my clients is that self-awareness in that very mindful living. It wasn't called mindful living back then. Maybe I just said, hey, pay attention to yourself. Scan the room. What's happening here? And so just helping them has helped me, because I always feel like whenever I need to learn something, I teach it. And so I have basically learned a lot by having to look things up and research things to share with other people. And when I see somebody that needs my help and I don't know how to help them, I figure it out. Because anybody that calls here or needs me, they get some type of assistance, even if it is. But I feel like I've learned to take care of myself through better time management, through better communication, so I can, delegate and not have to carry it all here. Because when that gets too heavy, I'm gonna, break. And
we were not made to do anything alone. We are made to operate in collaboration, and like you said, learning how to communicate and collaborate and delegate and let others. This is what I always talk about. Draw out of others and let them operate from what their gift and genius is. Tap into them, let them flow and go, and encourage that out of them. And then you can do what you're most gifted and free up all that time. It's removing that static. And it's not in that, like, you started out, you were probably a lone wolf too, right? I got to do it. 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 And then you realize, wait a minute, my pink is out of whack here. This wasn't the plan. And I could bet you that once you started to bring in people where that was more of their gift, they could help come alongside you, then your pink grew.
Yeah, it did. And now I feel like, and also conversely, got to be careful here. Sometimes there can be too much of that pink, right? Where you're kind of keeping your eye off the prize. And I've experienced that too. Being away too much, or,
it's a balance.
Yeah, off balance. You get off balance the other way, and you kind of have to right the ship, right? You have to come back and grab the helm and start directing again because, it's your business. It's not their business. They get a paycheck no matter what they do, but your paycheck depends on their paycheck. If you have teams, whether they're subcontractors or they're employees, you still have to direct the project.
Right.
And also manage, money in, money out, and making sure you're looking at that and knowing your numbers, and you're responsible for that. So you can't go up too much, but you can still factor it all in a balanced way. And sometimes that balance could be 80%. Other days, the other direction. But I really feel like there's always a little time for you in every day, but make sure you give yourself that buffer. Like I said, I remember working with a financial advisor once, this man, and I looked at his calendar. I said, do you have time to even go to the bathroom? And he was like, what? Oh, of course. No, wait, maybe at lunch. And I stop sometimes when I'm driving I said, well, how do you get your notes into CRM, and how do you get prepared for the next client? He goes, well, I don't know. I said, you're late to the next. He said, yeah, I'm always late. I'm like, okay, so you're doing it, but you're not building in the time to do it. And we restructured his entire calendar, and not only was he, having more balance as day,
he was creating more money too, because he was on. His mind was
he was
full.
on. He was ready. He was so ready. He wasn't rushing in with that crazy fly-by-night expression on his face and half listening, because he knew he did to the last client's information. And he also was stressed knowing when he was done for the day, he really wasn't done, because then he'd have to spend hours
doing the notes.
His marriage at night with his kids, and he was at work into the night. And I said, whoa, make it more quality, like make your day filled with all that good stuff and prep. And then not only we feel, less stressed, you feel productive. And I promise you, your bank balance will show that. And he was like, all right.
And that's really the accelerator in creating our wealth. It's getting your life more in alignment with where you want it to go, being intentional with your plan, having a plan, and being flexible. One thing we know, you got to have space in your day for that unknown. I mean, there's going to be, especially if you're, an entrepreneur with a family, with children, there could be the phone call from Johnny's school that Johnny fell off the swing set, right? I mean, or there could be that something comes into your workday that needs to be dealt with immediately. There is it has to become the priority. So you always have to be open and allowing some extra time in your day for the unknowns, just in case. And maybe they don't appear. Guess what? If they don't appear, then you get to call your friend and say, hey man, are you free for lunch? Because I got a little extra time here. Let's go have a long lunch today.
That's right. That's right. Because you left your space. And I always say when I leave a client's house, they're always like, oh, there's more space on that shelf. I'm like, exactly. We don't need to cram. Because we have a shelf doesn't mean we need to cram it full with things. You need to make room for things that you may want to store, so later, and make room for that. So let's always make room. Let's make room in our schedule.
Let's make room for more. And I'm not talking more junk.
Right.
We're talking more living, more of the things that light us up, more of the things that inspire us, more of the people that we love, more of the time to paint those pictures or write those songs or, start that business. Maybe right now you're in a job that, you don't love. And you're feeling like Jill just described, you don't even have time to pee. You're bogged down, start looking at how you're operating in that job. Start saying, how can I make this job simplified for me? Call Jill if you need to, right? How do I, organize my work day, my work environment? And if I'm really that miserable, then you call me And we start exploring, what is that thing you forgot that you were created to do? And maybe it's time to, that you got your calendar organized over there. And now you got time to think about you and where you want tomorrow to be and making an exit plan. So, I mean, wow.
And it's funny when you were talking about, making room for living, we come full circle in this conversation to what is that life that you want, because you can always have that life be different this week than next week. A lot of people feel like, well, I'm stuck with this. I committed to it. I better do it. Other than, paying taxes and child rearing, since you gave birth to a child or you're a father, mother, whatever.
And that's seasonal too, because one day they leave your house. And then what?
Yeah, and parenting looks a lot different. It's still there, but it looks a lot different, than it was. So before they left your house, there might be different needs. Like, I don't know how to work this new laundry machine at a laundromat. I always was used to yours,
Right.
Or,
hey, Mom, what's that recipe?
Yeah,
it's different.
I know, exactly. And how do you do this and how do you do that? How do you, it's just when they're adulting, you're like, oh, right, I did that for you, or I helped you with that a little bit more than maybe I should have, or something. And then you're like, okay, to be there as like, a different kind of, parenting style at that point. But I would definitely say, this is, people hear this all the time, so I didn't coin this either. This is not a dress rehearsal. This isn't a practice. And you said, offline, tomorrow's never promised, and it isn't. The next moment isn't either. So the things that you're doing now to define your life, are they reflected in your current environment?
Right.
Whenever I pose that question, people look around and they're like, nothing here is me, but I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, well, that's something I can help you with.
Exactly. And I mean, in my own journey, I am very intentional, and part of it's being in your world and being blessed to hear you and learn from you. But I am very intentional about what I have. I won't buy anything unless it is, I love it. I go through my closet every season, winter, spring, summer, fall. And if I didn't wear something in that past season, I give it away. Even if I loved it when I bought it, I thought, well, if I didn't wear it this winter, I'm probably not going to wear it next winter.
That's right. Because if you can grab it to go with the 60 or some outfit that you put on over the season.
Yeah. And so
trying to grab it.
Just being mindful of that, and then making room and blessing somebody else with it, and making room for, that next pretty sweater next year that I'm going to go, I love that. I want to, it looks great on me. But it's just living in that intentionality and creating the life that you desire. It is possible. It is all possible. It's all possible.
It's all possible. Yeah, it's all possible. And, when you talk about donating clothes, a lot of people say, I just dropped it off at Goodwill. But what you really did is you gave someone the chance that makes very little income to have the dignity to select a pretty outfit or a handsome shirt or a tailored suit or a nice pair of dress shoes or a handbag that they would not normally be able to afford with the income that they have, and the dignity of a store.
Right.
And buying it, whether it's a consignment store, if you decided to go that way. I know that in Pittsburgh here, we've got a consignment store that's actually 100% supports women's area shelters, like 19 shelters it supports.
Right.
But it's considered a consignment store, but it's really a drop off, and whatever they make, they have to keep the place running, and the other half goes, or probably more than half, knowing her, probably go to more area shelters than her own pocket.
Yeah. So you do good with your excess.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you give intentionally, you're also living intentionally.
So beautiful. That there, folks, is kingdom principle numero uno right there. Give, love, serve, bam, thrive. You take that mindset that it's just not about us. It's about all of us, and let go of the things that you don't really have a desire to have 4, getting real intentional about what you desire, declutter, unclog the pipes really of your mind first and foremost. That's what happens. That's what happens. It, like all the things Jill said, it's all about decluttering your mind and then saying, how am I going to design this thing going forward, and living in that freedom and keeping an intentional plan, keeping that order in place, keeping it simplified. Like I love it. Like our book has so many awesome tips. I mean, you guys got to get this. Just like she gave away, honestly, all of her brilliance in this book of how you can thrive and be organized through every decade. It's in here. And that's what our book's about. We start at the 20s, we go to the 90s. And if you want to learn more about decluttering and thriving and living your full intentional life, please get our book. Reach out to both of us anytime. But Jill, I love you. I'm so grateful for your friendship, for your wisdom, for your inspiration that you are, your gift to this world, and your time today and coming on my little podcast here. And I can't wait to see what's coming next for you, my friend. It's more and more. And this nonprofit, I can't wait to help, build that up. Will you quickly give a buzz about the nonprofit?
Sure. So the nonprofit is called Safe Moves for Seniors. I'm just waiting for the IRS to approve me as a 501c3, non-exempt, or exempt, sorry. Got too much HR on my brain right now. But I would say that the main purpose is to make sure that seniors that are economically disadvantaged will have the opportunity to move their belonging with them, because currently there is nothing in my county. I've looked in every possible place for this service. We get calls at Discover Organizing all the time saying, can you move me? Can you help me? Can you unpack me? Can you pack me? And I say, sure, it's this much an hour. And they go, click. We ended up doing moves for low cost or no cost. So we've done some pro bono work and low cost work, but as an entrepreneur, I can't really do that anymore. So a nonprofit seemed like the right next step, because
That's
that way
beautiful. That's
we
beautiful.
could help seniors and get money from the the
Well,
lottery.
I look forward to, once it's up and running, helping you share the word about that, because we're very passionate about our seniors. And so it's a great, great thing. So once she's up and running, you guys will be seeing me say, hey, donate to this. So
Hey, I'll take it.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you all for listening in, for tuning in. And do not forget, you all have a unique voice print. The world is waiting for you to release your sound. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Release Your Sound with Laurean Kile. Connect with Laurean at launchcollectiveexpo.com. Find out more about her, the Launch Collective Expo, and join the collective, the online community for kingdom-minded entrepreneurs. And help us expand the kingdom by sharing this broadcast and subscribing.